All right, welcome everybody to the lecture about cloud computing. This lecture is very important with regards to what it is expected from you to submit for the assignment. Before we start with the lecture, let us go and have a look what is the topic of the assignment. Number one, the essay, the assignment should be an essay of 2,000 words. And it has to be submitted via Turnitin. I'm telling you now, the problem with the assignment should be that you have too many words and you have to decide what goes in, what goes out. I will allow a plus 10%, so up to 2,200 words, assuming you will have citations inside the text. If you go below 2,200 words, you will receive a penalty, because we need to be fair with everybody that they will stick to the word limit. I'm telling you right now that the number one problem will be that you have too many things to say and you have to decide what goes in and what goes out. That's part of the assignment. That's a good problem to have. Deadline is 10 of January and it's 30% of your mark. As I have said from day one, after today, we have 3 more lectures, the 23rd, the 30th, and the 7th of December before we close for Christmas. Therefore, after today, you can start working on your initial draft, and I strongly suggest by the 7th of December, you have something ready, because then questions will arise, and I'm going to be available in the classroom to answer any questions you may have. Via email, I'm not going to be responding the same way I can respond in the classroom. This is the topic. Cloud computing is beneficial to businesses compared to traditional offline computing. This is a statement, and I will suggest what you have to do for the assignment with regards to this statement. Discuss and provide case studies to justify this argument, and explain how cloud computing can be utilized today in the corporate environment. So, number one, what I suggest you do for the assignment, introduction, you definitely need to provide a definition of cloud computing. As I have said from the start, let me go up to a certain point and I will stop to ask if you have any questions. You can write them down. And when I say go with your questions, you can ask me. So number one is, what is cloud computing? And define, where are we? Here. And define the difference to traditional offline computing. So let's go to the lecture and see. Cloud computing is the action, the process of accessing computer resources remotely on the internet, not on a local PC. That's it. What I'm doing right now, I'm on my USB, I'm on my hard disk, and I'm saving some folders, some files in these folders. This is local storage. So if I want to give these files to one of you, I have to actually give you the USB, or I have to, create an email or upload them somewhere and then send you the link. If I am to use a cloud computing service, for example, Google Drive, I can upload the files there and then give the link to everybody to download them as many times as you want from any device you want. So the definition of cloud computing, it's defined in the first slide. You have, of course, the right to Google search it and find one and define it. I will be looking for a definition of cloud computing in your assignments. As it goes on, the slide says a model for enable convenient, on-demand network, blah, 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 access to share pool of blah, blah, blah. This is like a more official definition. I don't need an official definition. You have the right to give me any definition as long as it's correct. Simply put, is when we access resources, computing resources, online and not offline. The assignment then states that discussing blah, blah, blah. This is the part that I'm going to address last because it's the most important. But it says, explain how cloud computing can be utilized today in the corporate environment. This part of the assignment question, it is stated in the following slide, which is the 3 cloud computing categories. I will be expecting in your assignment to see the cloud computing categories, which are SaaS, software as a service, PaaS, and IaaS. I will explain them right now, but I'm telling you now, if you don't have the services, the categories, stated in your assignment, probably you will lose a lot of points. Probably you go straight for a bad mark because you will not have something to talk about, to discuss, if you don't present it first. So this part right here, explain how cloud computing can be utilized today in the corporate environment. You start with this one. Let me explain. Cloud computing category number 1, software as a service. This, we are talking about application software. Let me remind you that in one of our previous lectures, we saw system software and application software. System software is when we have the operating system like Windows, Linux, Macintosh, iOS, Android. Application software is what we have once we go inside the system software, which is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, blah, blah, blah. Software as a service is when we deploy application software online so that it's accessible by everyone. Let me demonstrate it. Now I'm going to use my Microsoft Office installation on my computer. So I'm going to type Word and I'm going to open my local installation of Microsoft Word. This is not computing. So I'm going to click that, and this is the copy of my Word installed on my PC. I'm going to do the same using SaaS, a SaaS service, which is Microsoft Office 365. So I've logged in already. There you are, I'm logged in. And I have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, so on and so forth. So I can do the same thing, open up Word from here, click New Blank Document, and I'm doing exactly the same thing as I can do with the offline copy of this software. What's the advantage of using it online? We'll talk about it later on, the benefits of cloud computing. But one thing is that I don't need to have a local installation. So if, let's say, my computer dies, I'm going to lose all of my documents if I don't have a backup. If my computer dies and I'm using this online solution, I still have a copy of my documents saved on the cloud. Same thing I have here, Excel, PowerPoint, and blah, blah, blah. So the first category talks about application software deployed on the cloud. So when you answer the question for the assignment, right here, explain how cloud computing can be utilized, I will be expecting from you to present category number 1 and talk about specific examples of SaaS used today by a company. I have just presented one example, Office 365. There are a lot of them. I don't want to give away other examples, although you can see some in the slide here. I'm expecting from you to search it and provide some SaaS examples, given the fact that I presented only one, Office 365. So if you give me other examples in addition to that one, that's when it will be counted as you researching the topic and providing other examples. If I mention them in class, they're not going to count the same. Just a tip for you, this is a slide, just Google it, start searching for it, and you will find a lot of example applications for SaaS. Number 2, Cloud Platform as a Service, that's PaaS. The first one, it is addressed to the so-called end user. So it is addressed to me as Dimitris to write a document, create a spreadsheet, create a presentation using the already set up software, the application software. Now, PaaS goes on to communicate to developers. So we are deploying tools for building application software. For example, this is Android Studio. This is an offline standalone solution that I have to create Android applications. This is NetBeans. It's another offline installation that I use to write PHP programs, create websites. This is Dev C++. It's a local installation to create C++ programs as a developer, which a developer develops application software here, but specific for what the customer is paying me for. Now, I can use the offline solutions, or I can go online and use solutions such as the Google App Engine. So I'm getting all the tools that Google offers for developers, but now they are online. So my employer, the company that I'm working, has a decision to take. Are we going to buy and install local installations of Android Studio to all the computers of our employees so they can create Android apps for our customers? Or are we going to buy subscription to the Google App Engine, and therefore we will be able to create anything we want on the cloud? So we're going to be working with the browser, and as I've said before, the benefits of this will be discussed in a while. Now it's loading. Let me click on it again. So let me write on the chat. I will be expecting from you to provide PaaS examples while you're answering this second part of the second statement of the assignment. So pretty much what I'm saying to you is that the definition and the categories are pretty much standard. I will be expecting from all of you to include them in your assignment submission. You forget to add them, you are losing marks. So there you are: Java, C#, Python, PHP. I can also create Android apps with this one. So it's like I'm using the browser now. This is Google Chrome, and I can create applications instead of opening this local installation on this PC and creating the same deliverable, the same product. Category number 3, I'm gonna make a stop so you can ask me if you have any questions, all right? So that's Cloud Infrastructure as a Service, IaaS. This, it's the example that I gave before with regards to number 1, storage. So if I'm not using cloud computing, everything I do, I will be saving it locally. This is my USB, or I can use my hard disk or whatever, external, any device. If I am using cloud computing, I'm going to go and use solutions such as Amazon, examples such as Microsoft services, and one that is common to everybody is OneDrive. And I can use Google services such as Google Drive. That's not written there, but I've shown it here. So I can go to my drive and upload all the things that I have here. So instead of saving locally, I'm saving online. Then I can send links to everybody here and accessing those computing resources online rather than having to create an email, zip, and send them to each one of you every time. This is part of the third category right here. Here we go back. Infrastructure as a service. This one. So it's pretty much hardware the infrastructure is the hardware that they sharing with us. So when I'm actually uploading on Google Drive, I'm actually uploading on a server, on a mainframe that the provider is providing to me. Therefore, it's sharing hardware. In addition, in this category, you also have system software. So that's number 2. So storage is number 1, plus other things, and system software is number 2. So right now, I'm using my computer with my local installation of Windows. Each one of you are using your computer probably with your own local installation of your operating system. If we were to use a cloud service, an IaaS cloud service, we could use an online operating system. Microsoft is offering a solution with Microsoft Azure, and we could have, if we wanted, Windows Live, which is an operating system on the cloud. So you get a computer that is empty, meaning has no operating system. You open it up, you need an internet connection, and you automatically connect to your operating system, which is online. So instead of opening up your Windows on C and desktop and everything else, you open up your browser to go to your desktop. In addition to the system software referring to the operating system, cloud computing includes, in the last category, antiviruses. So we could share a common antivirus than having one installed in our own computers. We could share a firewall. We could share utility software, meaning drivers that we have to install locally for some programs to run. So just to complete the first part, I will also be looking for you to present the category IaaS and also provide examples. This is the answer to this part right here. So the second part of the second statement. I'm gonna have a pause here, and I would like to ask if there's any question up until this point, before I go on and talk about the most important thing, which is this one: discuss and provide case studies. I don't see anything, so probably you are okay with the way I'm explaining. Can I get a thumbs up? Or everybody has fallen asleep, therefore you're not. Excellent. Okay, Gada will explain again. So I'm sure, did you understand the storage solution? Probably I confused you with the second part, but the storage should be okay, right? Google Drive, instead of saving on my local PC. Okay, so again, this is me not using offline on cloud computing. There you are. I've saved everything here. This is me. So for example, CIM, I have the slides here. They're saved locally on my PC. If I do this, if I go to my cloud, go to my Google Drive, I can do this, pick it up and upload it. So you'll see that it's uploading now. And once it's ready, the way I'm going to be sharing it with everybody is to find it, which is here, get link, sharing it with everybody, and picking up the link. So if I give this link now to the chat, I have managed, without sending you the actual file, to share it with all, 300 of you. This is an example of me using IaaS. Gada, Pavlos, is that okay? That's the first part. Can I get a thumbs up? No. SaaS is when we're using software. software as Word, Excel, application software. Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox is IaaS, it's storage. All right, so let me continue and we're going to come back to it if there is any misunderstanding. Now, I'm going to proceed and present the three key players in cloud computing. So the three categories that I presented, mostly we're gonna get them, rent them, pay for them with using one of the three key players today. There are other players, but the three most important providers of cloud computing are, number one, this is one, Google. So I want us to go through some examples and talk about what category is it. So let's say Google Docs. Yes. What is it? Is it SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS? So it works the same thing as Microsoft Office. I can create a document if I want to. Can I get the answer? What is it? Is it SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS? Got it? I think you answered just now, right? And that is correct. It is SaaS, software as a service. So Google offers SaaS. Now, Google also offers the Google App Engine, which I've demonstrated before. This is for developers to go and create applications, websites, standalone applications for their customers. This is an example of what? SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS? PaaS. Very good. And Google offers Google Drive, which I talked about before, Google Calendar, Gmail, Google Video, Google Sites, which mostly is for storage area. It's for storage thing like 15 gigabytes of emails. I can create and store my emails on Google Video. I can use my Google Sites service to create websites. So what kind of a cloud computing category is that? Yes. So to sum it up, Google is offering all three categories. Moving on to the next one, Microsoft. Microsoft has the Azure services, so they bundle the whole cloud computing solutions into the Azure package. So let's see what Microsoft is offering. As I mentioned before and I demonstrated, they have the Office 365. So I can go online, Office Live, now it's called Office 365. So I can use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and so on and so forth. What is this? Is it SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS? SaaS. Very good. They are also offering .NET services, SQL services. These are for developers to create standalone and online applications. As you can guess, this is an example of PaaS. And as I mentioned before, they have OneDrive. I don't see it here, but OneDrive is the solution for storage that Microsoft is offering us. So this is the first part of IaaS, but they're also giving us an operating system that we could access online. So they're offering both parts of IaaS. So Microsoft also offers all three categories. Last but not least is Amazon. Amazon was the first one to provide cloud computing services back in 1999. But they were not called cloud services back then. They were called web services. Cloud computing is a rather recent term. It was called web services. And they have only two options, the Elastic Compute Cloud and the Simple Storage Service, which is storage. So they're saying if you want to upload your data, your customer data, your employees' data, your products' data, we have a solution for you. You can upload them on our server and we will charge you per month, or we may charge you per use. I will talk about this in a while using a couple of case studies. So what is this? Is it SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS? It's storage. Ah, yes, very good. Amazon only has that, and they were the first ones to offer it, but they did not expand to SaaS and PaaS. So when you're answering this part of the question, to explain how cloud computing can be utilized today, I will be expecting from you the three categories with specific examples from specific providers. The most important part of the assignment, though, it's the first part of the second statement. Discuss and provide case studies to justify the argument, the first one, that cloud computing is beneficial to businesses. Therefore, in order to talk about why cloud computing is beneficial with actual case studies, we need to know the benefits of cloud computing. And therefore, I have them listed down right here. There are three slides, slide 8, 9, and 10. You get to pick any benefit you want, and you need to find a case study that demonstrates that a company was benefited on that specific benefit you will be selecting. You may go the other way around. You may find case studies that companies have used cloud computing. I'll show you some. I have some today. And then think, or even the article may mention, what benefits does this case study demonstrate? Let's talk about the benefits. Let me show you some case studies and we can analyze them together. So, cost savings. It says that using cloud computing, the examples I demonstrated before, will have a lower cost comparing to buying and installing individual licenses for offline software. I'm talking about corporate use, not personal use. Security. Security is it's coming in two versions. We're going to talk about them as a benefit, and later on we're going to talk about them as a risk. So keep an eye on that. I'm going to come back to it. As a benefit, though, if somebody decides to hack me, I'm just a simple person against a powerful hacker. If I was to trust my documents, my lecture notes, my precious spreadsheets that I have, my financial analysis as a company of all of my customers, if I select to trust a cloud computing provider, they are following worldwide certified security policies that they will make sure they are protected, and we are protected as a company against any hacking incidents. So it goes that I'm going to trust Google and Microsoft and Amazon with my data as a company rather than saving them on my own server. So I'm trusting them compared to myself, especially if I'm a new company with no expertise on how to protect ourselves in case of an attack. Reliability. They are reliable because even if we have a high traffic, So let's say the slides that I gave you, all of you want to access it. Google Drive will make sure not to deny access to any one of you. So reliability on the service provided to my end customer. Availability, 24/7, 365. If I'm saving locally, then if somebody wants the document that is about customer A, they need to wait until I go to work next day. But if it's saved online, the link is there. You can use it anytime you want to. Reducing IT management responsibility. So if I am to save SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS offline, so not using any cloud computing, I'm going to have to hire an IT expert to make sure the server, our mainframe, our servers, it could be many of them, in all of the branches in different countries of the world are working just fine and cooperating and coordinating. So it has a local IT responsibility that we need to handle. If we were to use cloud computing, this responsibility goes to the provider we are paying. So Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, which they are experts and they have the knowledge and the experience to handle cloud computing services. Performance. This goes with reliability. So as I said before, if I'm having a server on my company, I need to be making sure to keep my statistics and have a best and worst case scenario in case I go from 10 visitors to 100 visitors to 1,000 visitors to 1 million visitors. If you have an increase on the access of your computing resources on your own website, you need to make sure that the website will not crash for everybody. So performance-wise, the experts, these companies that they provide cloud computing solutions, they know how to keep the threshold at a certain limit so that it doesn't crash for everybody. Flexibility, that goes on with collaboration. So if I was to use my local copy, I'm going to write my paragraph and then I'm going to have to send it to my colleague to write his or her part and then send it back to me to proofread it, then send it back to him or her to agree on the changes and then submit it. If we're to use a cloud computing service like Office 365, we could collaborate right here. So I could be actually writing, and once I click save, then my colleague will also be writing his or her own paragraph. Then both of us will see the final result there, right there on the browser. So we don't have to save, close, send, open it back again, do the changes, save, close, and send back. So that goes in the benefit of flexibility and also scalability. So I can, if somebody else wants to coordinate, take part in this document, if it's offline, we need to email each other every time with our comments and corrections. But if we were to use cloud computing, then the changes are there. Then somebody can just go and say, this part, I have a note, so I'm going to make it red. So everybody can see it right there on the spot. We don't need to actually send it manually. Moving on to the third slide of cloud computing. This is cloud uniformity rules, for example, testing, auditing, and security management. Testing and auditing, it's very important. As a company, especially large companies, sometimes medium and small companies have to be audited in order to see if they are complying with the worldwide rules or European Union rules. Especially if a company is asking for a fund, the higher the amount you ask, the higher the level of audit you will receive before you get the fund. Therefore, if you tell them we are having a local server, they're gonna scrutinize the process especially with regards to security, on how you handle personal data. But if you tell them we're using cloud computing services, they're just going to check the box that it's okay. My personal experience with this is that when we apply for a funding with the European Union, academic projects, if you tell them you want money to purchase 10 licenses for Microsoft Office, they would say no. If you tell them we want 10 licenses for Microsoft Office 365, they agree. So cloud computing, it is expected, not just suggested from the authorities. And disaster recovery. So if we were to have everything safe in the office, what happens if there's a case of a fire, an earthquake? If somebody breaks in the office, then we are losing the computers, the hard disks, the servers, therefore we lose the work. If this happens and we're using cloud computing, our work, our precious work, is still available because it's saved online, not offline. These are the benefits, which are a lot. You don't need to refer to all of them, but what you need to do, what I'm expecting you to do, is to go and find case studies of companies using cloud computing and then align them with the benefits of cloud computing. So how was beneficial to them using cloud computing? Let me give you one myself. I have 3 of them. So we go on here. Washington, D.C. We're talking about the White House. They have 38,000 employees moved to Google Apps. So instead of having offline documents, they are using Google Docs. You don't get to save something on a local PC if you're in Washington, D.C. You have to use Google Docs and save it online. 38,000 employees. Gmail, they have to use Gmail. They have to use Google Video. They have to use Google Sites. All right, can somebody tell me how has Washington, D.C. benefited with this move? Here are the benefits once again. Can somebody give me one benefit that you see with this move? What benefits can you recognize from this example I have given? 38,000 employees. So probably they're collaborating. So what kind of a benefit do you see with regards with this move? That's correct, Gada. Disaster recovery. So if they get, a fire in the White House, or if they're locked out, if there is a rebellion or whatever, they still have these precious documents available, saving money. That's it is correct, Yenavie, but right, I was expecting for flexibility, right, and scalability, meaning that 38,000 is a lot. So if I wanted like 100 of them to sign a document, will I have to send it to 100 people and then send it back to me? That would be like a very amateur move. Scalability refers to having a lot of people having to contribute. Therefore, cloud computing is an excellent solution. Flexibility also. Now, yeah, cost savings, I agree. 38,000 people will cost less if you use cloud computing compared to actual offline licenses. There is one more. It's not just one more. I mean, you could argue with regards to reliability, availability, so outside of office hours, reducing the need to hire their own IT managers, and of course, security. Security. It's something that people will try to have access on, right? It's the White House. Therefore, security, I would say, has to be mentioned as number one if I was to present this case study, that they say to Google, we are trusting you with our precious data. We want you to keep them secure. Does that make sense? Can I get a thumbs up? I'll show you two more. Just to point out, I will mention it so it goes into the recording. My case studies, when I say present a case study, I don't mean present like one page of something of a case study. I'm looking like one paragraph to talk about what's the case, and then talk about how it was beneficial to them, as the question is asking. So I'm looking for one paragraph to talk about the actual case you are presenting, and you have to go on and talk what are the benefits of this case for the company you are presenting. So I would say a paragraph of up to 10 lines for every case study. Also, I want to make sure that it's clear the case studies I'm presenting will not count for the assignment. So if you refer to them, I would say correct, it's just a pass. I want you to find your own case studies. I'll say more about it, how you can find case studies in a while. Number two, New York Times, which is a newspaper. It is a newspaper. So they have articles, news articles, and every hour, every 2 hours, every half an hour, if they have an update on the sports section, economic section, cultural section, whatever, financial section, they have to upload this onto their website. So we're talking about 15 million news articles. They scan them to PDF, and they use EC2, which is one of the solutions of Amazon, IaaS, to upload them there. Just use a credit card. Didn't even have to call them. 100 Linux computers, 24 hours to upload them on EC2, the server of Amazon offered for IaaS. So it's something that it was, as mentioned, it was a cheap experimentation, and the learning curve isn't steep, meaning that they needed the time to upload it, but then it's 15 million articles, PDFs, you need to be able to manage them. But imagine what would happen if they were not using cloud computing. So, given this case study, can you tell me what are the benefits that you can identify that New York Times had an advantage with this move? Good question, God. I will answer it in a minute. So what benefits can you identify? Flexibility is correct, Gigi. Remember, I would like one sentence to explain why. Don't just say flexibility, full stop, flexibility because of, like saying, go ahead and give me the reason why. I would say, yeah, all of that is correct, but again, Dimitri, Iulia, I would be expecting the why. Like, so don't just mention it, but you are correct. Something that, let me say, it's reducing the IT management responsibility. So 15 million PDFs, that means we definitely need to buy a server and then hire an IT to manage it. Do we want to do that, or do we want to upload them in a cloud computing service? I like the answer by Iulia, disaster recovery. So we are a newspaper. If we publish something that people do not like, they may, come for us and burn down the building. Do we want to lose our precious yearly published articles. We're talking about year after year. It's an archive. So by using a cloud computing, even if they burn down the building, we still have copies to them. They are history. They are part of history. Well, I think you got it. Let me present one more. NASDAQ. Here. So NASDAQ is a stock exchange. This is where Facebook is. So if you want to buy a stock, you go to a stock exchange. We may have some Forex people here. They know better than what I'm saying now. But if you want to buy a stock, you go to where the stocks are exchanged. You pay the money, you get a share of the company by purchasing stocks. Now, a stock price changes every 10 minutes. And historically speaking, NASDAQ needs to save all of the prices of the stock of a company over the years. Like if I was to go to Google and say, give me the Facebook NASDAQ share price. There you are. So I can actually see over 5 days, over 1 month, over 5 years, over maximum. Look at that. Now, these figures, they are figures, simple text, but they need to be saved somewhere, right? So NASDAQ, instead of saving them locally, they went and purchased on S3. Remember, Amazon was first. That's why these companies, they went to Amazon because it was the only solution back then. So they're just storing the figures, but there are billions of them. So this is another example of how a company has selected the cloud computing solution rather than the offline local solution. All right, let's go again. What do you see with regards to benefits? Now, I believe there is an answer here, which it's something that is more valid here than the other case studies. Which one is it? Very good. Availability is correct. Very good. But Ilya, how many people are they accessing it? So I've just checked the Facebook stock. How many other people are having right now in front of them and they're watching it live as the stock changes? And not just Facebook, all the companies that are listed in NASDAQ. We're talking about millions of people checking live now, millions, hundreds, thousands of companies on NASDAQ. So what is it? What benefit is it? I mean, it is correct, but which one is it? I'm expecting a better answer. No, Gada, it's performance. Performance. When you have multiple people, scalability increases, performance lowers. Therefore, if they were to save these figures offline, they will have to deal with million people right now being online and checking the stock price. So performance will drop for some of us. It's like the vaccination gate for Cyprus. When all of us tried to go, the performance fell into zero. If we were to trust cloud computing services, they will promise, I mean, it's going to be in the contract, that they will keep the performance up to the corresponding threshold. So you agree with them, the best and the worst case. And they are signing a contract to deal at a certain performance when you, irrelevant of how many people are, if you are inside the best and the worst case scenario. So I have given you case studies. The question arises, Gada mentioned it before, how many? My answer is the more, the merrier. This is where you differentiate. So the first part, it's gonna be probably the same, not the same words, but the content will be the same for everybody. There are 3 categories, there are 3 providers. The examples that you can give are with those specific providers. So the content is probably the same. This is where you differentiate. The discussion provide case studies. So I want to see 10, 20, 30 case studies. Now, we're not going to be able to get to that point. I know you have 2,000 words. So what I'm expecting, what I think is feasible, I think you can get to 5. I'm going to mention it, and it's recorded. If you present 3, 4, 5 case studies, and then the other student presents the same ones, it will be considered cheating. It will be considered copying, pasting. It will be considered collaborating. If one of it is common, coincidence. If 2 of them are common, coincidence. If 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them are common, bam, 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 gambanagi, this is very suspicious. Please do not exchange case studies. It's as easy as that. I will demonstrate. You go to Google and you say cloud computing case studies. Bam. And all you have to do is read them. Deloitte, IBM, Cisco. And if you go further down, you'll find many others. Please take the time to do your research. It's not something that is difficult. I just did a simple Google search. You don't need to read books. You need to use the internet. For my module, I said that from the beginning, I'm encouraging the use of the internet. But anything you use, you need to refer to it, citation and reference. Now, you have a tutorial after this one for citation and references. I will make sure that we also go through the tutorial for the Word automatic references right here. So I will show you how you can use the Harvard style inside Word to make sure we have the correct way of citations and references in the document. Let me see, questions. How do we know that the information is reliable? Well, Ghana, we will talk about it next week, but let me ask you, what are the information you are expecting to see for an article to be valid? Number one, it needs to have an author. So if you open something and it doesn't have an author, then maybe it's not a good idea to use it. If I'm going to publish something and I'm going to be proud about it, I will put my name next to the article. So if you open up a, a suspicious a website that doesn't look professional and you're in doubt if it's valid or not, do not use it. There are plenty others here to use. Also, second thing, you validate, you cross-reference. So if you find the case study, then you go and you Google search that case study. So for example, the NASDAQ, I will go and do NASDAQ using cloud computing, and I will see if there are other sources referring to that case study. That makes sense? Yulia, what if we all have some common case studies overall, like 3 of them same unintentionally? I'm doing this like 10 years now, Yulia. I don't think you will get 2 or 3 the same. If you do, let me put up a motive. If you give me the same ones, then you are receiving less mark. So I want you to go and try and find case studies that they're not the ones that I specified in the lecture. They are not the ones that you can find in the top search results. So you can revert to them, but give me an additional one. So, do a little bit of research. If I see the same case study 3, 4, 5 times, then those students will not receive the same marks as someone that finds a case study that was not mentioned by anybody else. I mentioned that gap. As I've said, I'm expecting a paragraph, I would say up to 10 lines, to include the description of the case study and the alignment with what benefits do you identify in that case study. Now, I'm saying what I'm expecting. If you go 12 lines, if you go 8 lines, I don't have a problem. I'm just going to specify. I don't need a case study of 1 page long that other modules may ask from you. Before we go on, let me recap. Number one, I want to point out that in the slides, we have some other things like the risks, which I haven't pointed out. We also have how cloud computing works. So they are not part of the assignment. They will be part of the final exam. But with regards to this lecture, I'm not going to put them in because you don't need them for the assignment. So I'm not going to elaborate on them. Only what I have talked about today is what I'm expecting to see at least in the assignment, and it's a definite pass. All right. Questions before I close the recording? Think about it, post it. Anybody wants to get the microphone? Yeah, got it. I just answered it. All right, so the citations and references is the other part that I will be expecting from you to apply in your assignment. So that will be a tutorial for next time. With regards to the content, I'm going to close down the recording, and we're going to move on to talk about the assignment a little bit more in detail.